Hey guys, Ryan Reifert, San Antonio business attorney. Today I want to take a minute and talk with y'all about a question that I get a whole lot, which is how do I form an LLC on my own? And that this is not always the right answer. There are plenty of circumstances where it is going to be to your benefit to hire an attorney to help you out with this. And that could be anything from your corporate organizational documents being done correctly the first time, to perhaps you have a little bit more complicated structure, to perhaps you have investors, perhaps there's some kind of merger going on, to any number of other things. This explainer is targeted specifically at those who have already made the decision, and preferably in consultation with a good attorney, good accountant, good banker, all of those above, have those professionals on your team. This is targeted at those people who've already decided, hey, I want to do this myself. I just need to know how to do it myself. Good news is it's not that hard. So without further ado, here's your first disclaimer. What this video is going to cover: number one, how to form an LLC yourself in Texas. And number two, we're going to give you a little bit of familiarity with the entity formation page of the Texas Secretary of State's website. Now, if you're paying attention to the video, you'll notice that slide had one word turned bold red underline real quick. This is about forming an LLC for yourself in Texas. Please do not go out and start forming LLCs for other people. That is called the practice of law, and if you do it without a law degree and admission to the state bar, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So 2 more disclaimers before we get the party started. First of all, there are 4 topics that I am explicitly not covering here. First of all is whether an entity is right for you. I'm not going to be discussing the list of factors and considerations of whether you should or should not form an entity. I am assuming that you have thought about all of that and considered all of that and talked to who you need to talk to, and you've decided that yes, you want an entity. Second, I'm also not considering the pros and cons, merits and demerits of various other entities, corporations, partnerships, PCs, PAs, LLPs, limited partnerships, general partnerships, nonprofits, any of that. I am simply assuming that you've thought about all that and talked to who you need to talk to, and you decided that LLC is the right way for you. Third, I'm not going to be talking about any of the organizational documents, which are highly important but are beyond the scope of this video. And fourth, I'm not going to be talking about any kind of post-formation matters, which again are highly important but are beyond the scope of this video. This video is covering only how to form your LLC in Texas. So again, this is not legal advice. This is just for education, and I implore you to please, please, please consult an attorney before you undertake any kind of significant life actions. So let's get started. If you hop on over to my website at ryanreifert.com, you've got a whole bunch of nifty stuff. This is my bio and my corporate transactional landing page. You can hop on over to the blog and check out. We've got some good stuff. I try to update it once every week or 2 maybe. Got some funny articles. There was a guy in Kansas who demanded trial by combat, and some good updates on SEC regs and M&A stuff, contract terms, all that kind of thing. So let's leave that, as great as that site is, and go over to the Texas Secretary of State's website. Now, I prefer to Google just Texas Secretary of State when I'm looking for that. If you Google something like how to form an LLC in Texas, you're going to get a whole bunch of ads up top that are not going to take you to the Secretary of State's website. And you know, I'm not going to speak negatively of any of those services, but the point of this video is how to do it yourself. So that's what we're going to focus on. So just go to the Texas Secretary of State, make sure it's a state.tx.us address. Let's close out that wonderful blog real quick. This is what the homepage looks like for the Secretary of State. And you've got a whole bunch of stuff. They run the elections. There's notary forms. There's UCC filings. There's a whole bunch of sort of unrelated topics that are bundled under the Secretary of State's umbrella. But let's go into SOS Direct, which is for what we want to use for business filings. And if you click that, and you can get to it 2 places actually. You can pull it down from up top where it says Business Services, right there. SOS Direct online search and filing, or you can search SOS Direct. Just click the big old thing on the side. But before we do that, let's talk about the fee schedule here. So this stuff is unfortunately not free, and so each one of these filings is going to be a different cost. So certificate of formation, for an LLC or various other things, it's going to be $300. And you'll notice a whole lot of other fees for various other relevant filings that we're not going to spend a whole lot more time going through, but if you're curious, you can play around with this. So let's hop back to the main page and click on SOS Direct. This is what the login looks like. Each time you search for a name, you're going to incur $1. I imagine this is just to prevent people from searching 5 million times a day, but there you go. So I'll show you all very briefly what the name reservation search looks like. You go to business organizations and pull that down, and then you click name availability search. Here I typed in A1 cars. It'll give you a whole bunch of results that some of which may be appropriate and some of which are not going to be what you're looking for, but it'll tell you if your name's taken. Then you can go back to order and click business organization. And once you get here, you can see a whole bunch of different flavors of documents that you can file, from domestic to foreign. Now, foreign just means you're from another state. It doesn't mean necessarily foreign country, although those can qualify too. And because entities such as corporations, LLCs, are creatures of state law, if you want to do business in another state, you actually have to go qualify in that state. So here, for example, let's pull up the Louisiana Secretary of State's website. If you have a Texas company and you want to go establish an office in Louisiana, you're going to have to make a filing with the Louisiana Secretary of State. And it could be any other state. It could be Oklahoma, it could be California, it could be New York, whatever. So let's go down here, and I actually haven't used Louisiana before, but I guess it's somewhere in here where it says file business documents, and you're going to file something that says it looks like foreign qualification. I don't know where that is. Let's go back to Texas. So here we're going to click on domestic limited liability company, click file document, and you only have one choice. You can file a certificate of formation, so we're going to select that and continue. You're going to get to a screen that says entity name and type, where you select the name of your entity, and you can do a name availability search. And you also, for an LLC, they ask you to select between whether you want a limited liability company or a professional limited liability company. We'll do a brief detour on that. Professional limited liability company is, surprisingly enough, limited to professionals, certain members of certain professions. The details of that beyond the scope of this video, so we'll leave that for another day. So we're gonna click so that we can't actually file something. We're gonna type in my entity name. We're gonna do law offices of Ryan Reifert. Mine's a PLLC, but we're gonna type this one in as LLC. And this is where you select your registered agent. Now that's the person who is authorized to receive service on behalf of the company. If you type in the company's name there and click continue, it's actually going to kick you back an error message. It won't let you do that because an entity cannot serve as its own registered agent. So again, this has to be either another company or an individual. So you'll type in, and it doesn't have to necessarily be you. It could be your attorney, it could be your accountant, it could be whoever, but it's someone who is authorized to receive, process, and legal documents on behalf of the company. So that brings us to governing authority, where you'll have to select whether your LLC will be managed by members or managed by managers. I'm not going to get into the particulars of which one you should select. That's a conversation for you and your attorney. For this one, we're going to pick a member managed, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's always the right answer. There are reasons that you might do one, there are reasons that you might do the other. So again, you're going to have to put an address. It can be a business address, and again, the governing authority can't be the corporation itself. So you can add one, you can add more than one. Then you click continue. This is where you submit your supplemental provisions. Again, there are various things that I like to include in supplemental provisions depending on what industry the entity is in and that kind of thing. But this is where you can type. I'm not going to say you can type whatever you want because there are certain things that the Secretary of State will kick back. But this is where you type your supplemental provisions. This is the name of the organizer. It's the person who files the company. This does not necessarily have to be a governing person. It can be just the person who makes the filing. I've been the organizer for many clients' entities, and I'm not a governing person of those entities. So this is where the organizer would sign. We're not actually going to do that because I'm not actually forming this company. We're just going to click cancel filing, and that'll take us back to the Secretary of State's homepage. That's how you form an LLC in the state of Texas. Easy enough, right? Again, I want to caution everybody, a little bit of knowledge is a very dangerous thing. Be sure that you know what you're doing. Talk to your attorney, talk to your accountant, talk to your banker. Be sure that all these professionals that should be on your team for your new business know what you're doing, and be sure that DIYing it is what you want to do. If it is, then hopefully this explainer has been helpful to you. I'm going to do a few more of these YouTube videos from time to time on various different topics. So if there's something that you'd like to see covered, please feel free to drop a comment, send me an email with something that you'd like to see. Like and subscribe, and wear your mask, because COVID is a horrible thing and masks save lives. Take care, guys.